Today we're going to be using another example of how to remove objects on an unwanted image. So we've already done one lesson where we've looked at using the healing brush tool, which was this tool, if I just bring it up here on the screen, which are these tools here, which work quite well. But we ran into an issue, and I'll just bring in the palm tree now so we can see what we're actually doing, when we were trying to remove an object that was really quite close to the palm trees, and that was around this area here. So this tool we're going to look at does something similar to the other one but slightly different, and this is going to require us to do a few changes to the document. So still working on the same scene but using a different tool. So first thing is we've got our background locked over here. So what we really want to do is to duplicate that layer. I'm just going to right click, duplicate layer, and we'll call this stamp, which is really the tool that we're using today. Once we have our stamp layer, we want to then create a new layer to go on top of that. So just down the bottom right hand corner, and we have our new layer. What we're going to use, or the tool that we're going to focus on today, is the stamp tool, which is this one here. And we've got a few options at the top here that we can look at, which is the size of our brush, so how big it is. So we can move that, make it really big, make it quite small. We'll try and keep it around that level there. The hardness level, that deals with how much of a change it will make. So you can play with these options. We'll leave it at 26 and 60. You can have that slightly different. And we're working on this, if we have layer 1 selected, and we have current layer, no matter what I do, it will ignore every layer below it. So what we want to do is go current layer and below, or all layers. So we're just going to go all layers, and that will apply all the setting changes to what we're looking at below the actual object. Our mode is normal. We don't want to do any changes there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that section there, and we're just going to bring that across and hide that out of the way. So I have shown you a couple of quick ways to do it. This one does take a little bit longer to do. This requires you to use the Alt key on your keyboard, and all you do is press Alt, and you'll notice that the cursor of our mouse has actually changed. And what we're going to do, if I release that so you can see it, is we're going to take that section there, I'm clicking and dragging across, I'm going to let go, and you'll notice that if you look at my cursor, I've actually got a section already put on the screen. I'm now going to click and drag across, and you'll notice that that trailing part of the edge there copied everything that I had. So let's do that again. Hold down the Alt key. I'm going to get that reference line there, and then release, and then come across. And you'll notice on the screen there's to probably 3 centimeters or so to the left is a little cross. Now that's where it's getting its reference point from. You'll notice that the tone that it's got there is not quite accurate. So we bring it a bit closer. It'll start to bring that in as we're coming through. And you can just click and drag across and slowly bring across the changes. You can do it in a quick fashion if you think it's pretty accurate going through, but as you see, it will start bringing a little bit more in, so you have to be a little bit more delicate. So it is easy to go from the right and just bringing through those changes. Be mindful that sometimes you go a bit quick, so just Control Z or Command Z on the Mac to bring that out. Now you can see that tool does not quite work quite in the way that we want it to there. But let's say we've taken that, and let's say we do have that right, and we want to drag that all the way across the screen. So why not just use our new layer that we've already got, and let's duplicate that layer, and we'll call that Stamp 2. And what that means is if I now come to here, I can drag, and I can actually repeat some of the work that I've already done. You can see there's quite a difference in color balance there, and you may find that when you're actually working on that tool, you may want to adjust the hardness of the brush and change a few of the options. So let's have a look at that again. So we come back here, we have our size. Let's move our hardness down a little bit there to around that level, and let's try and see if we can improve this slightly. So using our Alt key and dragging it across. Remember, it will resample at those points, so you can do little bits at a time. This will take a while to go through, and it does give you a nice good blending option as you're coming through. Same but down there. and you will start to run in. You can go the other way. And you'll notice there that that's actually started to improve the color and the balances that we've got on our image. Same here, you can come back the other way. Oh, a little bit too far there. It does take some time to actually change those balances and do it. But what we ran into earlier was an issue up the top here on our previous lesson, where we're trying to get rid of this section here. So let me just create a new layer so we can start. I'm just going to call this palm. And one of the things you can do is, now using our Alt key and our stamp tool, is to actually start to remove part of this tree out of the way. Now this is obviously going to get a little bit harder as you move into it. So you could use a combination of the two tools. It's sampling from the right there, coming through. And what you could do is then use the healing brush tool to actually go through and remove that entire section. This up the top here will require you to change the size of your sample. So you can change the size up here. You have to go quite small. You are going to have to zoom in. Probably a little bit too far for our workings here. Okay, we're going to take that sample and we're going to bring it in. Now, given the quality of the image is an issue here, it is going to take some work to get that correct. You might change the hardness down so it doesn't take such an impact. As you see, completely out of the way. You can do some spot changes there. Make it a bit smaller. And now we'll take some sampling of the other parts. Let's go out a bit. It's not too bad. It does require a little bit of refinement and a little bit of work to get that just the way you want. But of course, remember, you've now got that as a separate section, so you can actually tweak and move that around. You could also try and change the opacity so you can make it not so hard. You can still see that it's there. You can use that as a little bit of a blending tool if you want to do that as well. So what I want you to do is repeat the exercise that you've done before, but now using this new tool that we've used with our stamp, and try and repeat the same sort of process. And as you can see, it is starting to blend in. It will take a little bit of work, and you might use a combination of the two to actually achieve what you're trying to.